The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Welcome into an all-new edition of the Belly Up Fantasy Live Baseball Show on the Belly Up Sports Network. And we have a massive show for you tonight because just moments ago, an hour or so ago, news broke of a massive trade in Major League Baseball. So we're going to break it down today, amongst other things, of course, as well. I'm Vince Stover, and I am joined, as I am every single week, by the senior writer at bellyupsports.com. And, well, the daddy of them all, right there, Kevin Wilson, is here again tonight. How you doing, Kev?
I'm doing great, Vince. We've had a little rain, a lot of heat, but other than that, it's been a really good weekend. So, and the Dodgers are playing as we speak against the biggest rivals, which is something we'll talk about in a minute. But so we have baseball. We've got the College World Series going on. So baseball reigns supreme. I know, we've got hockey and basketball. None of that matters at this moment because it's all about baseball.
It is all about baseball, and shout out to the dads out there in the world. Happy Father's Day to you all. Happy Father's Day to my dad who listens to this show. He won't listen to it till tomorrow, but happy Father's Day, Dad. And by the way, Dad, got you a gift. I got you a new third baseman. So we'll talk about all that.
That's right.
In just a little bit. All right, let's get into the show today. We're talking streaming pitchers. We've got the latest Major League Baseball news and waiver wire additions for this week, all bundled into one 1-hour program. So let's kick it off with the segment we call the Fantasy Burner. Fantasy Burner is presented by Belly Up Sports. So go to bellyupsports.com for all your written content, and go to YouTube, the Belly Up Sports channel on YouTube, for all your media content as well. It's there. Tons of great programs covering all kinds of different aspects of sports on the Belly Up Sports Network. So make sure you check all of that out. This week, me and Kevin are going with streaming pitchers here for our first segment, talking about some pitchers that maybe we wouldn't hold on our roster all the time, but for this week, they got some matchups we like, and we are streaming them this week. So, Kevin, I'll let you kick us off here with your first streaming pitcher this week.
Okay, so my first streamer happens to be a New York Yankee, and that is Will Warren. Now, I know the Dodgers lit him up for 7 runs. We're not gonna focus on that. But his last start at Kansas City, 5 2/3 innings, no runs, 4 hits, 1 base on balls. And his other than the Dodgers, his last point performances, we have 16, 25, 13, 16, and 16. So that's pretty consistent. Tuesday, he pitches at home against I hate to say Los Angeles Angels, but I'll say it. The Anaheim Angels, okay? And so I like that matchup, and I think it's going to be a good one. And if he gives you 16 points, which is about the bottom of what he's accomplished over these last several starts, other than the Dodgers, you will take that out of your streaming pitcher every single time.
I like that one. The Yankees, I like their matchups this week as well. I think there's some positive things with them. I'm going to go to the nation's capital and Washington Nationals, Jake Irvin. And he's had a little bit of a rough stretch here. Arizona, the Cubs, and the Mets didn't really turn out the way you'd hope they'd turn out, but that's why he's a streaming pitcher. You put him in when the right matchup comes, and, well, the right matchup has arrived. Monday night, Jake Irvin will be taking off against the Colorado Rockies. This will be in D.C., so not in Colorado. And I think he's just lined up for a solid start. The last time he pitched against Colorado was April the 20th. He went 6.1 innings with 9 strikeouts in that game. He allowed 2 earned runs as well. Gets the win in that game, a 3-2 game back on April the 20th. So he gets to face off against them again. This time it'll be at home. So maybe those 2 runs don't get through in Washington where they do in Colorado. And I just love the matchup with the Nationals against the Rockies this week, too. So Jake Irvin is my first streaming pitcher this week.
Okay, so he's my second streaming pitcher.
Okay.
So, as you mentioned, at Arizona, Chicago, at New York Mets. Those are three teams that could put bat on ball. But before that, he had 23 and 32 fantasy points.
Yeah.
So you can't ask for anything better than the Colorado Rockies, especially because the Rockies were playing at home. And when they go back out on the road, it takes them a while to get back in, out of the light air mode and everything. So this start is a very good one. So I'm completely with you on this one.
All right. Who's another one for you?
Okay, so another one, and this is the absolute surprise to me, but it's Patrick Corbin.
Yeah.
Of the Texas Rangers. Okay, who came into this year, he was known as a guy that would give you innings, but he would get blowed up at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, he's given you innings because 7 of the last 8 starts, he's pitched 6+ innings, but his ERA is 3.66. That's way below what he's done in the past. And the Ranger offense, as we saw, they put 16 on the board this past week. So their offense is waking up a little bit. And he doesn't pitch until Thursday, but he pitches at home against the Kansas City Royals, who can't hit their way out of a paper bag right now. And their pitching's been really good, so they'll be in the game, I'm pretty sure. But this is a streamer if there ever was one. So Patrick Corbin on Thursday, you put him in your lineup, he gives you 5 or 6 innings, then you kick him to the curb and then move on.
Yeah, he's on my list too, Kevin. Against the Royals are the third lowest scoring offense right now in Major League Baseball. They are behind the Pirates and the Rays. No, not the Rays. Sorry. I lost the other team. Doesn't matter. They're behind the Pirates and one other team, and I'll figure it out one of these days. At the end of the day, though, you look at this team and you go, okay, Kansas City, we think is a good team. Pitching has been phenomenal there. And actually, if it wasn't a guy who was already on rosters, I would have thrown a Kansas City Royals pitcher into this thing also. But I love Corbin this week as well against Kansas City. I think that it's a great matchup. And like I said, on my list. So I was with you 100% on that one as well. All right. Well, let me give you another guy then. I wasn't necessarily going to bring up this one, but since you stole one of them from me and I stole it from you, I'm going to go with Mike Soroka. He's another Washington Nationals pitcher. Again, going against Colorado this week. He's going against Colorado on Thursday. He's got the Dodgers next week, so he's just a one-start guy for you this week. Most recently, a good game for him was against the Texas Rangers. He got the win in that game, 6 innings pitched and 7 strikeouts. He's had some 5.1s and things like that along the way as well. He's not going to shut people out very often against Colorado. He just may. Sign me up for anything Washington against Colorado this week. And like I said, once you get them through that game, you can go ahead and drop them on the season. 5.14 ERA, not good. So that's why he's not on your roster regularly. But he's got 40 strikeouts over 42 innings. So he's getting you a fair amount of strikeouts there as well. So a great matchup again against Colorado. I'll go 2 straight Nationals in streamers this week.
All right. So this next guy is almost certainly available in your league, and that's Keter Montero of the Detroit Tigers, who's at 0.8% roster. So his availability is almost assured.
Yeah.
But this is what he's put these points together recently: 13, 18, 15, 16, 18. So that's consistent. How this guy is below 1% roster is mind-blowing to me. But he doesn't pitch till Friday, so you don't need to rush out this moment to add him. But he pitches Friday against Cincinnati. And so I think that's a solid matchup. And so I like that. Look at it. Get them on your team. Like I said, as soon as the game starts, you can kick them to the curb and move on. But I like this matchup right here. So at 0% Ross, some of these other guys might be not available, but he almost certainly is.
Agreed. And I've got another guy in that same category, Kevin. It's the Houston Astros, Colton Gordon, pitching Thursday against the A's. He's coming off of 2 straight wins. He beat Cleveland on June the 6th, and he beat Minnesota on June the 13th. Against Minnesota, he went 6 innings, 5 strikeouts, 2 earned runs. Against Cleveland, he went 5 innings, 1 earned run with 5 strikeouts as well. He had 6 strikeouts in a loss to Tampa and 7 strikeouts in he did not get the win, but the team won over Tampa Bay earlier on in the season as well. He's 0.1% rostered or something like that in ESPN leagues right now. But on the season, 4.70. He's got 30 strikeouts and 30.2 innings, a 1 quality start, which was his most recent start against Minnesota. Again, you're going up against the A's, even in that ballpark in Sacramento. I still like the matchup. And Houston, they're kind of up and down a little bit. They're winning the division. They're doing some good things, but against the A's, you line them up, and so I like Colton Gordon a lot this week for Houston.
Okay, so let me back up a little bit because sometimes I can't read my own notes.
Okay.
But because Peter Montero pitched this last Friday against Cincinnati, 5 innings, 2 runs on 7 hits. He pitches Thursday at home against the Pittsburgh Pirates, so that's even better than what I was just talking about. So move him, slot him into that spot on Thursday. Pittsburgh going into Detroit, that is an absolute mismatch. So Peter Montero, remember him, get him on your team before Thursday.
All right. You got one more guy for us?
Let's see. I have one more.
Okay.
And that's a Philadelphia pitcher, which happens to be Mick Abel. Is that a great name? He's able to do it. All right. And so in his first 2 major league starts, he pitched 6 and 5 1/3 innings, allowed 1 run. Then he went up against Chicago, 4 innings, 3 runs on 6 hits. Well, it's Chicago Cubs, not the White Sox, Cubs. Monday, tomorrow, he pitches at Miami. And Miami, as we all know, is a pitcher's park. And so this really lines up well for him. And right at the beginning of the week, you can get yourself a guy, and he's at 15% rostered. So you can get him on your team, get started out pretty fast to start the week. And I like this guy a lot. In this particular matchup, I probably could have looked to see who he pitches against because he'll pitch 2 starts this week. But we're not concerned about that second start. We're just worried about tomorrow. And at Miami, Pitchers Park against a team that's not good. So this is a matchup that I like really a lot.
I'm going to make a case for why Mick Abel should not be a streaming pitcher, but I'm going to do that in segment number 3 of this show. And so we'll talk about that more a little bit later in the program.
Okay.
For sure. All right. By the way, he's playing the New York Baseball Mets on June the 21st. Would be that second start. But we'll talk about Mick Abel, like I said, more in segment number 3. All right, that is segment number 1, Fantasy Burner, streaming pitchers for this week. Go and check it out for sure. And we'll talk more about some of these guys in just a moment. But this segment is presented by Belly Up Sports. Go to bellyupsports.com for all your written content, fantasy baseball, fantasy football, regular MLB, NFL, NBA, NHL, all kinds of stuff is on the bellyupsports.com and on the Belly Up Sports Network on YouTube as well. All right, let's head into segment number 2. We call it the Hot Corner. The Hot Corner is presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution at righteousfelon.com. Use the promo code BELLYUP. You're going to get 15% off your purchase. And boy, howdy, do we have some hot trade everyone's talking about. The Brewers sending Aaron Savali to the Chicago Sox. Wait, hang on a sec. Let me check my notes. I do want to come back to that because
Yes,
I find that
I
trade
have that written down as well to discuss, and I
Okay.
knew that you'd wanted to talk about this
But let's
until
start.
it got put in the rearview mirror because of a certain trade that just happened.
Let's start with the Red Sox moving Rafael Devers to San Francisco for 4 players: Kyle Harrison, Jordan Hicks, Jose Bello, all 3 pitchers, and outfielder James Tibbs included in this trade as well. Since spring training, we had heard the Red Sox might be moving Devers. There was a lot of talk about it. Then, once they officially announced that he was not going to play third base, more rumors went out there. Like, he's going to get moved. Then, first baseman went down, and there's talk about that, and then just kind of sparked more rumors of a possible trade. And now we come to a Father's Day Sunday, just in the middle of the afternoon, out of nowhere, seemingly. I see something pop up on my phone that says something about a trade to San Fran, and I of course, have to confirm that it's real first,
Right.
because there's a lot of spoofs out there.
Right.
Find out it is real. I send Kevin a message, say, hey, we're going to be chatting about this tonight. Devers goes to San Francisco, and I want to start, before we get into the breakdown of these players and what the Boston's getting and all that kind of stuff, just reaction to Boston after an incredible weekend,
Right.
cutting ties with Rafael Devers, and then on the flip side of that, San Francisco getting Rafael Devers. So start with the Boston aspect and then go to the San Francisco aspect.
Well, that's, as you mentioned, they had an absolute outstanding weekend, which how could it get any better? Because they swept the New York Yankees. So right out of that, and they're into, which we thought for sure there was no chance that they'd be make any kind of playoff moves or anything like that. But they're right in the wild card race now. And upon all of that, they trade, and I had heard that he was taking infield practice. So I thought, okay, well maybe there's they made up and they're kissing in the dugout and stuff. But then all of a sudden, bam, he's traded to the Giants. And I really struggled to try and understand from the Red Sox aspect, unless there was a complete breakdown of just, we can't do anything with this guy.
Well, okay, so there you go. You hit the point, right?
Right.
First of all, the 5-game win streak,
That's
8
right.
out of their last 10 that they've won.
That's right.
They're game
including
above
5 of 6 against the Yankees.
Yeah, they're yes. After some trash talking from Hunter Dobbins, like, there was so much good coming out of Boston this week.
Absolutely. He beat him twice in a week.
Yeah, it seemed like the vibes were high. Everything's flowing well in Boston. And then this, I want to come back to the return in just a minute and the reaction to that. But flip the page over to San Francisco, and they're receiving an all-star in Rafael Devers, and San Francisco's been playing top-notch baseball, and
all
they
season
don't have to give up much to get Rafael Devers.
They sure didn't. These are 2 young pitchers, and I'm sure you're going to get into the other 2 guys, but when you look at this, because Jordan Hicks is currently on the IL.
Yeah.
And he has a 6.47 ERA.
Yep.
Then Kyle Henderson, or Harrison, rather, is a guy that I've liked him.
Yeah.
But his ERA is 4.56. And they're not sure, going back to Boston, is he going to be in their starting rotation? Is he going to be in the bullpen? Because he's done both for the Giants.
Yes.
And pitched pretty well his last couple starts. Maybe not all-star worthy, but pretty well.
Right.
And him being in the starting rotation seems like that would be the best answer there. But we'll see on that. But this is not a return for an all-star player to me. And so the Giants just sent, hey, go. We'll put player A, B, C, and D into a car or on the plane and send it to Boston. And we don't even know who it is, but we just know we're getting Rafael Devers. So that's all that's important. So Boston, this boggles my mind.
Yeah. So first of all, San Francisco having a heck of a season.
That's right.
They're only a game back from
That's
the
right.
Dodgers.
And if they win today, they're tied.
They're 11 games over 500. We're seeing Willy Adames start to look like Willy Adames a little bit. And they're bringing in, like I said, a stud bat. They've got, they've got some open spots. They've got some weak spots in their lineup right now.
They do.
And so you bring Devers in, will he play the field? We'll see. Will he just be DH? Maybe if he plays the field, does Chapman move to a different spot? Maybe Chapman goes to first. They need some spots that they need some help for sure. So I'm intrigued by it. No doubt about it. And when you sit here and you realize that San Francisco not only gets Rafael Devers as a key piece now to their lineup, they gave up 2 bullpen players and 2 prospects to get them. And these were not prospects, could always turn into something great, but really these were not major prospects.
Right.
So let me give you a little information on these guys. You mentioned Jordan Hicks. He's 28 years old. This season, 13 games, 9 of those were starts. The rest were out of the bullpen. He's 1-5 in 9 starts, 6.47 ERA, like you mentioned. Jordan Hicks' best time of his career came after he was traded from St. Louis to Toronto, where he played 25 games at the end of the 2023 season, I believe it was. And he was decent there. He had a 3-point-something ERA. He was fine. But as a starter, he's just never turned out as a starter. Kyle Harrison, I'm like you. I like Kyle Harrison, 23 years old. He's never had an ERA under 4.15 in his MLB time. Now he's not played a ton of games. He's 9-9 in his career. He's started more than 18 games, but he's 9-9 is his win-loss record. His strikeouts per 9 is 8.8. So he's not going to crush you with strikeouts or things like that. He doesn't walk a ton of people either. He's 23, so a long way to go. If Boston is planning on putting Jordan Hicks and Kyle Harrison both in the bullpen, it doesn't make any sense. It already makes little sense. It doesn't make any sense. Kyle Harrison needs to be in the rotation, and you need to bank on what he can do for you and take your chances with him. Hicks, long reliever out of the bullpen. I like it. That's all good. But Harrison, he's got to be in your rotation. The other 2 guys, Jose Bello, he is 20 years old. He's a pitcher as well. He's got a 2.00 ERA in the 8 games that he's played so far this season in rookie ball, all of those in relief. I think he's got 2 saves in there. So yeah, he's 18 innings pitched, 28 strikeouts. So he is a strikeout guy, but he's young, he's in rookie ball, and you're going to take a while to see the return on this investment. Then the other guy is James Tibbs, outfielder. In 2024, he was the 13th overall draft pick by San Francisco. He has played some first base as well. At 22 years old, he's the number 4 prospect for San Francisco. He's batting .245 in A-ball right now. So I think you hit the nail on the head, Kevin, when you said there had to have been something that makes Boston go, we can no longer employ Rafael Devers, whether his agent or himself made it very clear, hey, if you don't move me, you're not going to like me very much at all. Like, I don't know what was said. I don't know how this happened. I guarantee you Devers is ecstatic. If I'm the Boston Red Sox player right now, I'm going, wait, we did what? Like we gave up what and we got what? Like this doesn't look like a team who's going for it at this point.
It sure doesn't. And when you 4.56 ERA when you pitch for the Giants, that's not good.
Yeah.
Because the Giants ballpark is one of the best pitching ballparks there is.
Yeah.
You go to the Boston, Fenway Park, that's certainly not the case. That's not a pitcher's park, even a little.
Right.
So this ERA is going to go up, you figure. And if he's not going and pitching in as a start of the rest of this year, this really falls apart, and it's starting to look like what the Dallas Mavericks did in the middle of the night,
Sure.
trading their guy and getting almost nothing back.
Yeah.
And substantial.
Well, I would argue Anthony Davis is a bigger
Right,
return than these guys.
Right. But he played one game and was hurt,
Yeah.
but it's just like the Mavericks should have gotten something better back.
Yeah.
Same thing here. The Red Sox should have gotten a better return than this for someone who has turned his seat. Because remember, at the beginning of the year, he struck out 17 times in the first week and a half or whatever it was. And he turned that around where he's a very good hitter at the present moment. You want him in your lineup, but now he's going to be clear across the coast. So this really makes no sense to me.
You would think that you could call Seattle and get a starting pitcher,
right?
One pitcher for Rafael Devers. You would think that's out there.
Seattle doesn't know anything about starting pitching. Now, come on now. You can call up and get a pitcher from Seattle. Come on.
Right.
That's what they're known for.
Teams too that would have made sense.
Yeah.
In the American League, maybe Toronto. They've been dying for all-stars. I don't know who they would have given up for them, but they've got some pitchers as well. But again, you're looking in the division. I understand why that doesn't happen. You go to the National League and Arizona, maybe, Atlanta. I bet you Atlanta would have been willing to throw a package together for them.
I'm sure they would.
At where they are right now. Chicago probably would have thrown a package at them too. I mean, there had to have been better options out there than what they got. But this is where we land. And by the way, you look at San Francisco, you say, okay, they gave up 3 pitchers in their organization, the 2 guys that were playing Major League Ball right now. San Francisco has the 3rd lowest runs against in Major League Baseball. Pitching has been very good for them. And these 2 guys at 6.47 and 4.56 were not part of that success.
No.
And Harrison did have some good games.
No, it wasn't like they traded him for a certain guy named, Robbie.
Sure.
If they had done that.
Right. It makes more sense.
That makes more sense. I'm sure Robbie would have probably not wanted to go along with that, but
yeah.
But at least he's 7-1, 8-1, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so he's throwing the ball, and you've got other guys that are in that rotation and the bullpen, as you mentioned, that are pitching well.
Well, Hayden Birdsong, who I've talked about before, who took Harrison's spot in the rotation. And again, maybe San Francisco said, no, we're not doing it. I will say this, Jose Bello, the other pitcher that's 20, he did play up there in the Cape Cod League, in the Summer League. And I know all teams scout that, but it's right up there in Massachusetts. It's close by.
Okay.
You never know. We don't know these prospects. Maybe they're spectacular and maybe long-term it'll be right. But it seems like from what I've read early on, Red Sox fans are not pleased with this trade.
No.
And they're not, it's not that they're mad that Devers is gone. They're mad at what they got for him.
Right. And at this moment in time where they're all celebrating because they just swept the Yankees right out of Boston.
Yeah.
And so all the good feelings and, like I said, all the, high fives and everything else went straight down the windows because of this trade right here for Boston.
Yes, I agree. Let's talk about the other trade because it made me chuckle out loud.
It did me too. I'm
week.
Really interested to hear you talk about this.
Milwaukee Brewers tell Aaron Savali, hey, we're gonna move you to the bullpen, which was the right move. They've got some starting pitchers that have been pitching really good, and Savali hasn't been horrible. But they said, we're gonna move you to the bullpen. He said, I ain't going to the bullpen. You need to trade me. And they said, cool. And they said, congratulations, you've been traded to the Chicago White Sox. Listen, if your only goal was to pitch, then go to a team where you're going to be able to pitch, I guess. But listen, there's other than Colorado, there's nowhere worse you can send a guy now than the Chicago White Sox. And the Brewers, it seemed very quickly said, that's cool. You don't want to help the team out. so be it. And they shipped him off. They get Andrew Vaughn, who immediately went down to the minors. But, a guy who's played some baseball and a guy that, you have injuries or he's going to be cheaper than some other guys down the road. Not a bad guy to have in the system. He's not a superstar, not going to be a superstar, but he gives you some positional flexibility. He's played outfield. He's played first base. And, so yeah, you don't want to be in the bullpen? No problem. Have fun in Chicago on the south side.
Yeah. When I heard about this, I wondered if they came to him and said, okay, we're going to trade you to Chicago, period. And he's thinking to himself, all right, I get to go to the Cubs. Oh, by the way, it's the White Sox, which is the outpost of Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
And he pitched today against the Rangers, not too badly, but you're what, 27 games out of first now?
Yeah.
And so I thought this was absolutely hilarious. You don't want to help the team? Okay. And most of the players think they rule the roost.
Yeah.
And a lot of them they do. But if your name's Aaron Savali, you're not one of them. And so I think this is absolutely hilarious. When I heard about this, I'm like, we have to discuss this right here because Andrew Vaughn, he's a disappointment in every single phase of because he's had a chance to be a starter at first in the outfield and he has fumbled it and he's not even in the major leagues. So they traded him for somebody who's not even a big leaguer.
Yeah.
So you talk about in your face. Well, this is it.
So I love Pat Murphy, the manager there in Milwaukee. He said for him, this gives him an opportunity to start. They've got big opportunity for him every 5 days, and that's best for the player. We looked at it like we can do something to help ourselves in the meantime. This might be the answer. Very kind way of putting it for sure. And by the way, Jacob Mizorowski comes up.
That's right.
And throws just straight fire. And he's the guy that replaced Savali in the rotation. I've been waiting for this day to come as a Milwaukee fan and absolutely loved it for sure. Vaughn, like I said, though, Vaughn is interesting because he's had a bad season this year. He's batting 189, but you cannot tell me that you take a guy out of that situation in Chicago and throw him into a winning environment where he doesn't improve. And so when that opportunity comes for him, he'll be first base designated hitter. And he's played some outfield, but that was in 2022 is the last time he played outfield. So they're going to send him down to Nashville, let him get some at bats, get a fresh view on life being out of the White Sox organization. And I think Vaughn's a guy keep an eye on, see what happens, because Jake Bauers right now is the guy for Milwaukee. He's the DH. He's like not everyday DH, but he's coming in. He's playing some first base. He's playing some right field. He's DHing some. He's having a pretty decent season for the role that he has. And there's a really good chance he gets moved at some point here. There's a team that needs him more than Milwaukee does. And they've got a guy in Andrew Vaughn that ideally can step up into that role for them if they're able to move Jake Bauers for something to get some bullpen help or something like that as well. Because obviously they need a little bit of bullpen help because that's where Savali was going to go. So, that's what I'm looking at in this. And again, I look at Andrew Vaughn and I go, you get this guy out of Chicago and all of a sudden he's got a new lease on life. Well, you watch his batting average climb a bit and he gets a chance. He's not in a rush to prove himself. He gets to go down to AAA and get things back under control down there. And the Brewers have a very good minor league coaching staff down there too. So I think it's a good opportunity for both guys to get what they want, honestly. And for Milwaukee, they really don't lose anything. And whether or not they get anything back from Vaughn, if they don't, it's not that big of a deal. If they do, great. It's awesome. So I love it as a Brewers fan. I love hey, I want to trade. No problem. Okay. You're a White Sox.
No worries. Yeah. Here's your ticket. It's not even a plane ticket. It's a bus ticket.
Yes. I love it. All right. I think that's enough time on that. Anything else you want to cover?
Oh, I just wanted to mention this also has to do with your Brewers this past week that because William Contreras threw out his brother at second base trying to steal.
Yeah.
So you had that. And then they both hit home runs in the ninth inning the other day. So that was kind of cool. And so that was neat. And let's see. How about Tarek Scoble walked one batter in 26 and 1/3 innings. This dude has gone completely stratospheric, and that's coming off of him winning the Triple Crown last year.
Yep.
And if you're going up against him, you might as well just leave the bats in the dugout, because it's not happening right now.
Yes. Detroit. Now they had that game as a whole. Detroit's been great. They had a game, I think, yesterday where they got torched by Cincinnati.
Yes, they got beat 11-1.
Yeah, but outside of that, they've been playing decent ball. They've only won 5 of their last 10, but they're doing enough good to hold a 9-game lead in the division and still the best record in Major League Baseball. Houston 5-game win streak, also 8 out of their last 10. They're now 4.5 up on Seattle. At one point this week, the Angels were in first place. They're currently 7.5 games behind, so that didn't last very long.
No, it did not.
Houston's doing what we always expect Houston to do. They figure it out, and they go out and do. And listen, I think they have the lowest runs against in all of baseball, first or second lowest in all of baseball, and their scoring hasn't been great, but in that division doesn't have to be great. And they're figuring things out. They're 11 games over 500.
That's right. But, going the opposite direction, I don't know if you saw this. The Washington Nationals manager, Dave Martinez, came out and he said pretty much, well, it's not the coach's fault. It's the players. So that he won't be in that position very much longer. What he's saying is true.
Right.
But it's not going to help his case. And blaming it on the players is the kind of thing you do when you're going out the door. And they've lost 7 straight coming into today. I hadn't seen if they won or not today. But don't look for Dave Martinez to be in the Capitol for very much longer.
Well, and Washington's calling up their number 3 overall prospect as well. He's third baseman Brady House. So, they're at that point of, hey, let's try everything, see what works, and then changes have to be made, right? So whether it's Martinez, whether it's players start getting traded, because at some point, some of these guys, it's time to move them now, while they still have some value, these young guys, and see what you can get in return. Because I like so many things that Washington has done leading up to this season. But yeah, one of their last 10 games they've won. They've lost 8 straight. So it's just not going well.
No, it's not.
Needless to say. All right, that's the Hot Corner presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution, righteousfelon.com. Use the promo code BELLYUP to get 15% off your purchase. All right, let's head into segment number 3. We call it the Fantasy Focus. All right, Fantasy Focus presented by SeatGeek. Check it out, SeatGeek.com. Next tickets that you need to buy them from SeatGeek. Use the promo code BellyUpSports. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase with SeatGeek.com. All right, this is our waiver wire section of the program. We're talking about players to add and players to drop. Let's start with the drops this week, Kevin. I've got one for us this week, and he is outfielder Lars Nootbaar from the St. Louis Cardinals. His last positive fantasy points came on June the 6th. And that was about 9 days ago. No positive points since then. He only has 5 hits in the month of June, 15 days in. It has been fairly pathetic for Lars Nootbaar. And I think it is time to cut ties if you have not already. 50% owned in, I think it's 51.7% owned in ESPN leagues. And he should be probably around 21% owned in ESPN leagues, if that, at this point of the season. There's just too many guys out there that are doing better to keep a guy like that on the roster. So cut him loose, Lars Nootbaar.
Okay, so I've got a few guys. One of them pretty much threw me under the bus today. and that's Griffin Canning
Yep.
of the New York Mets,
Yeah.
who pitched well against the Dodgers. But other than that, 1, -4, 7, -5. Okay. 10 earned runs in his last 2 starts. And Saturday at the Philadelphia Phillies, that's a no thank you very much. And he needs to go. He will go off of my roster. You can be sure about that. He doesn't need to be on your roster either. And I know this is going to be a real shocker right here, but Royce Lewis returned to the IL. And if you're like just about everybody else that has no room on the IL, you just drop this guy and move on. He's hurt and hurt and hurt, so there's no sense in keeping this guy around. We've talked about catchers. Logan O'Hoppe, of the Anaheim Angels. Okay. Well, he's 1 for 21 and 2 for 34 out of his last games. So he's not hitting at all. And as you mentioned, unless you've got a certain guy up there in Seattle that's catching for you or somebody like that, rotate your catchers. This guy is not one of them. And last but not least, Matthew Liberatore, okay, giving up 16 earned runs in his last 3 starts and 11 strikeouts during that period. And he's got a great matchup Tuesday against the White Sox, but I have no confidence in this guy whatsoever. So I'm not even going to try and start him in that game. If he's on your roster, you got to get rid of him.
Well, Kevin, I want to bet. I want to say thank you for that. I was talking with my dad earlier today, wished him a happy Father's Day.
Of course.
And he said, well, I'm guessing Kevin won't be talking about his team at all tonight because Dad defeated you this week in fantasy baseball. But you bring up
we
Griffin
went into
Canning.
today's – I was trailing him. I think it was like 15 points.
Yep. And
Okay.
Griffin Canning did not help you out at all.
No, -5 does not help.
And Dad went with Corinne Priester, who got 21. He was his big pickup today for this final day of the matchup. So, anyways, Dad throwing a little grenade at you there as well. All right, let's get into these additions, Kevin. And I want to start this one off because I told you back in segment number 1.
Okay.
I wanted to give you a reason not to stream Mick Abel. And here is my reason. It's because Mick Abel should be on your roster. He comes in. He is, he came up earlier in the season, and he had a heck of a start. And let's see, that was against Pittsburgh, of course, where he went 6 innings, 9 strikeouts, and 28 fantasy points. Then he gets sent back down immediately. That was the plan. 1 spot start for him, sent back down. Now he gets called back up on the 4th of June against Toronto. 5.1 innings. He had 2 strikeouts, 0 walks, and 1 earned run in that game, 14 fantasy points. Now, he did go up against the Cubs. Not a great outing in his last outing. 4 innings, 3 earned runs, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks. That one wasn't pretty, but the other 2 games were. You mentioned Miami coming up on Monday. It's a must start, Mick Abel, for there. He's got the Mets after that, and I understand that matchup is not a good matchup, but Mick Abel's the real deal. And as young as he is, there's just no reason for him to not be on rosters. 22.6% rostered in ESPN leagues. He leads off my ads this week because of the Miami start, no doubt about it. But even after that, as long as Philadelphia is going to keep him in the rotation, he needs to be on rosters in fantasy baseball. And I'm taking a chance with Mick Abel every chance I get. Okay,
I like that. I like that a lot. All right, so I have a pitcher that I could have talked about, but I don't. He's not a streamer, and I'm talking about Clayton Kershaw of the Dodgers, who did not pitch well in his first couple of games. But here's what he's done. Let me see here. He's at 18.5% rostered. And let's see, out of his last, he has 20 fantasy points, 28 fantasy points. He pitched against San Francisco, 7 innings, no runs, 3 hits, 5 strikeouts, 1 base on balls. And Clayton Kershaw is the guy that you either have him on your roster or you do not. He's not a streaming guy, and he's getting it together. And I think this is a guy that you want to have on your roster throughout. He pitches against St. Louis this week, but it doesn't matter who he's pitching against. This is Clayton Kershaw. He's rounded into his what we expect out of Clayton Kershaw, and so I like him. Forget the 18.5% roster. If he's available, get him on your team.
All right. Fair points all around there on Kershaw. All right, let me give you a guy that I got to throw the flag up on real quick because moments ago he got injured. So we don't know what's going to happen with that.
Oh, no.
All right. 0.7% roster in ESPN leagues. Casey Schmidt from the San Francisco Giants. Fantasy-wise, he's eligible at first base, second base, and shortstop. And he's been playing third base, so he might even garner third base eligibility very soon with Chapman being out. He fouled a ball off his foot in the third inning of tonight's game against the Los Angeles Dodgers. So we have no idea what that means, if he's fine or not. So before you pick up Casey Schmidt, you might want to wait and see the report on the MRI or whatever comes out on him. But since I did the research on him, let's throw it out there anyhow. Against the Dodgers on the 13th, 1-for-3 with a home run, 4 RBIs, and a run. Against the Dodgers on the 14th, he had 1 home run, 4 RBIs, and a run as well. 9 fantasy points in both games against the Dodgers. Go back to Colorado. He had a 6-pointer and a 4-pointer against the Rockies, going 2-for-4 in both of those games as well. Hasn't played a ton of baseball this year, but is doing it right now. Matt Chapman injured. So what does Devers' addition do to that as well? You got to do a little bit of research on this one. But as far as hitting the ball really well right now, and having that positional flexibility that he has, Casey Schmidt from the San Francisco Giants is a big add if he's still playing tomorrow after this foul ball.
Okay. So, like I mentioned before, sometimes I can't read my own writing, but Thursday, Kershaw pitches against the Padres.
Okay.
That's not a great matchup, of course, but it's Clayton Kershaw, so I don't care about any of that. So if he's available, which he is not in our league.
Yeah.
So, but if he's available, get him on your team. So the guy I'm going to talk about is one that I just named as my fantasy baseball hitting MVP, and that's Evan Carter of the Texas Rangers. And I laid us all out, and this guy went absolute bonkers this past week. He went, he went just crazy. He was 3-for-4, 3-for-5, 2-for-3, 2-for-4, 3 homers, 7 RBIs, 7 runs scored, 2 stolen bases. And he had a wrist issue on Friday, but he was in the lineup today. He had a base hit. And at 10.5% roster, this guy, we've been waiting for him ever since the World Series for this guy to arrive. Well, he has arrived. And he was the reason why the Rangers put 16 runs in 2 separate games on the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah.
And so that's why all of a sudden their run differential is like plus 23.
Yep.
Well, when you score 16 runs in a game, that certainly helps you out there. But so if you need outfield help, even if you probably don't, I would look at getting this guy on your team because he is hitting the ball. He's going all out. So I'd like him a whole lot.
Yeah, he's on my list too, Kevin. You mentioned it. 4 straight multi-hit games against Washington and Minnesota. 281 on the year. So his average is not bad. He's not going to hurt you there if you're in a categories league. 4 home runs, 3 of those coming in last week. 5 stolen bases as well. 2 of those coming in the last week. He's found his groove. So I'm with you on Evan Carter. He's on my list as well. I like that one a lot, Kev. Go ahead and give me another one. Who else you got?
Okay, so another one that I like a lot that really surprises me is Ernie Clement of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah.
And he plays second, third, and short. And at 9.4% rostered, he's hitting 292 on the season. And but he has hit in 7 straight games entering today's play, and 9 out of 10. Wednesday he was 3 for 4 off the home run. Then yesterday he was 2 for 4 off the run scored. Oh, today he was 3 for 4. Oh, and 2 more runs scored. And Toronto, they've got a good offense, and this dude is right in the middle of it. And at 9.4% rostered, this guy, and he plays all these different positions, his roster percentage needs to be way higher than 9.4. And so I like him a lot. If he's available, get him on your team.
Yeah, I like that one too, Kevin, a lot as well. All right, I'm going to give you one more guy. And
Okay.
I don't like to go to relievers very often in this segment.
Okay.
Personally, I just feel like there's so many out there, and especially if your league is doing the right thing and have holds,
That's
you
right.
can go out and find guys pretty easily. But this is a guy that's got to get some shout out. Tampa Bay Rays, a relief pitcher, Edwin Uceta.
Okay.
He's one of my favorite relief guys right now in baseball, to be honest with you. 8 out of the last 9 games he's pitched in have been no earned runs. He has got in those 8 games, he's got 2 wins and 4 holds in those games. His last 2 games, he's pitched multiple innings. 2 innings against Miami, 1.2 innings against the Mets, and both of those games double-digit fantasy points. 14 against Miami, 12 against the Mets. 1 walk against the Mets, and he just doesn't walk guys very often. 3 strikeouts against the Mets, 3 against the Marlins. Everything he's doing is everything you want him to do. On the season, he has 5 wins. He's 5-1 on the season. The rest are all holds. I think he may have a couple saves in there somewhere as well. But don't look at his ERA. It'll scare you off. It's 4.60. But he's a relief pitcher. And back on June the 6th against Miami, he had a 54.00 ERA. As he did not do well in that game. Two earned runs and 0.1 innings. So don't let the ERA scare you off with Edwin Uceta. Understand he is crushing it right now. If you're in a league where innings matter, he's giving you multiple innings as well, or at least 1 point some innings. There's a lot to like about Edwin Uceta. I love him. I wish they'd make him the closer, but right now he's more in that setup role. And I love what they're doing with them right now. So sign me up for Edwin Uceta. If your league does not have holds, don't pick them up.
Right.
And ask your league manager to either
That's
get
right.
holds for next year or leave that league.
That's right.
But Edwin Uceta is an awesome pickup right now. If he's available in your league, he's doing great things as a relief pitcher.
I echo what you're saying about, because holds is an official major league statistic. And if it's that, it needs to be included in your fantasy baseball league. So,
yeah.
All right. So one last guy that I have is the ultimate guy that you have him on your team when he's hot. I've already talked about him before, and then he's cools off, you drop him. That's Javier Baez of the Detroit Tigers. Okay, because he was hot, then he was not, and I said drop him. Well, he's back to being hot again. And so hits in 4 of his last 5 games. And he had a 2 for 4 game with a run scored. And he had a 3 for 4 game with a home run, 2 RBIs, and 3 runs scored. And at 23.4% rostered, he may or may not be available. But if he is, he's got all these positions that he plays. And like I said, when he's hot, keep him on your team. At the first notice that he goes 0 for 4 with 3 Ks, then you send him on his way and add somebody else to your roster.
Yeah, so I've been struggling with Javi Baez. I'm in a league. It's a deep league, 14 teams, I think it is. Maybe it's 12 teams, but I think it's 14. And it's a dynasty league, so obviously having a 32-year-old isn't the best thing either. But I have him and Zach McKinstry, both from Detroit, both eligible on Fantrax, third base, shortstop, and outfield. I've loved having them because if I got anybody who's not batting, they can fill almost any spot on my roster. But man, both of them have gone through ups and downs, and I haven't dropped either one of them to this point because I got a little bit of a bench, and I haven't found someone I feel like is consistently going to be better than those guys. And but there are those days where I'm going, I should have dropped them. I've tried to trade them. No one will take them. at least for what I'm offering. I did have one person send me a message say, "Stop offering me trades; they're horrible." So I don't offer him trades anymore. But I did make a trade this week, Kevin. I want to run it by you real quick. I added Vinny Pasquantino, and I traded him. I gave away Jack Leiter. Now I know you like Jack Leiter a lot.
I would make that trade 1,000 times over.
Well, hang on a sec now. I like Jack Leiter as well. And again, this is the league that I did this in is a dynasty league. The question or the issue that I had is I don't have a first baseman. And I've made it this far in the season, but I've been struggling at first base. And Pasquantino obviously not having a great year. I get all of that. When I looked at Jack Leiter's stuff, and we brought him up last week, I believe, even
we did
as well.
We did,
but he's not great. He's young, he's growing. I like him a lot, but his stats aren't there to the point where I said I have to keep him, especially with some of the other young guys I have on this team. I knew your initial reaction would be that I got hosed, but I'm still going to stand by this one. I think it was a pretty even trade for both teams.
Well, I was looking at Pasquantino, and I almost made him as one of my official drop recommendations.
Yeah.
But I saw that he's had a few games with some hits.
Yeah.
So maybe he's coming out of it. But he's another player that has been disappointing.
Yes.
Because we expected so much more out of him. And if you had said to me, you'll trade me Mark, especially in a dynasty league.
Yeah.
Now in a redraft, I'm probably not doing that. But in a dynasty league, I'm making that deal with you right there.
Sure.
And I wouldn't accuse you of trying to lowball me. I would like that trade, and I would make it.
Last thing for you is I just received a trade offer in another league.
Okay.
And who would have thought this was going to come? So I have Tyler Soderstrom and Rafael
So do
Devers.
I.
All right. So that's who they're wanting. They're wanting Tyler Soderstrom and Rafael Devers. And they're offering me in return Freddie Freeman, first baseman from the Dodgers, and Brandon Walter, a relief pitcher from Houston.
Okay. Yeah. You put that in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
Right there.
I like Freddie Freeman enough, but I have been all in on Tyler Soderstrom.
Me too.
And then you throw in, I mean, Devers has been phenomenal as of late, hitting the ball. And I like this. I like the situation for him in San Francisco too. And so I had to get a good chuckle out of that offer. I'm not the only one out there making bad trade offers. There's plenty of people in this world doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't get offended by it. You send me a bad offer.
No. You know, that's if you get a trade offer and you don't like it, just decline it.
Decline it or counter it.
That's
either one of those is trade.
Yeah, either one of those is fine. Yeah.
With another wacky trade.
Okay, that's fine. But you know, I've dealt with some people. You make a trade offer, and then it sits there, and it sits there, and it sits there, and is the person comatose or what's going on over there? So if you don't like the trade,
just reject
simply decline it.
Yep.
And that's proper, etiquette.
How many leagues have you been in where you see a trade and you go, "What in the world?"
I've been
Listen,
in a few.
That trade doesn't happen if no one makes an offer. And so it's not wrong to offer something that's lopsided, because if someone takes it, look at you.
Right. Exactly. As long as there's no collusion involved.
Correct.
You don't get in the way of trades.
That's right.
I know that we weren't necessarily going to talk about this, but there is some trade etiquette when it comes to all fantasy leagues, not just baseball. But I have never seen in baseball, especially, where somebody made a trade where I was like, well, I'm going to veto that. And I've seen some trades where I made me go, what now? But as long as there's no collusion, you let it happen.
Yeah. I could be wrong on this, but I believe it was reported that after the Trump ICE raids, they're flipping to fantasy colluders. That's who they're going after next. So,
oh no!
So there you go.
no.
Breaking
Okay.
news. That's as much.
So
That's as much
fortunately for
politics as
both
we're
you
going to
and
talk.
I, we are not colluders, so we're okay.
That's right. That's right. All right, Kevin. Tell the fine folks about all the content you got dropping this week at Belly Up Sports.
Well, there's some content going on right there, that's for sure. And last week on our fantasy football show, we talked about players that we thought were studs. Well, I wrote an article that expanded a little bit more on Mr. Royals down there in Kansas. I guess that would be up there from here. But anyway, so that's out there right now. And yesterday I was on the 'cause Saturday mornings, I talk about baseball on the No Credential Required show. And we talked about whether every team should have a representative on the All-Star team. And we talked about the mounting injuries that pitchers face today. We talked about that. We talked about because Brian Wilson, the Beach Boys singer, just recently passed. We talked about that a little bit. So that's on the Belly Up YouTube page. And my, as I mentioned earlier, my MVP series that I do every week is on the Belly Up YouTube page as well, where I name my hitter, which I already mentioned, Evan Carter, and my pitcher, which should surprise no one, Tarek Scoble, had the best week of any fantasy pitcher of the season in 1 week this past week. So that made it real easy for me. I thought it was going to be Spencer Schoenbach because he pitched a complete game, but Tarek Scoble said, hold the phone. And so he was my selection. And so that's out there. And of course, on Tuesday, we are going to be back with our Belly Up Fantasy Live football show with Brian. And we've talked about all kinds of subjects. We're almost end of July or June is almost here.
Yep.
We're about a month away from training camp. If you're in fantasy football, you need to focus, and we'll help you do that on Tuesday night.
All right, very good. Yes, Tuesday nights is the Belly Up Fantasy Live football show live on the Belly Up Sports Fantasy Facebook page and the Belly Up Sports Twitter page, and then always available afterwards on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel and the Belly Up Fantasy Live football podcast. Just like this show, the Belly Up Fantasy Live baseball show. First of all, there's familiar faces on both ones. Me and Kevin are on both of these shows.
That's right.
Brian Germanaro does join us for the football show as well. He's doing a great job. There, great content from him also. If you go to bellyupsports.com, click on baseball, it drops down. You click on fantasy baseball, and you'll find the fantasy baseball articles there. Same thing for fantasy football, bellyupsports.com. Click on football, it drops down to fantasy football. You got rankings and articles there as well. We're talking a lot of great stuff right now on that show as well. Thursday, me and Dad continue our college football preview shows. We've done the ACC, the Big 12, and the Big 10. This week, we are hitting the SEC. Maybe you've heard of it. We're talking about that this week as well. And I'll tell you what, last week we had Dane Key, wide receiver at Nebraska, Kentucky transfer, on. And I thought it was one of the more fun interviews I've done, especially with someone that I've never met before. I've interviewed several guys that I've had some interaction with and had a great time with those guys. Dane, my dad asked Dane about Lincoln, Nebraska. He said, how are you liking Lincoln compared to Lexington? He grew up in Lexington. His response was, they really help you focus on football here, meaning there's nothing else to do in Lincoln. He was so, straight with it, everything like that. I commended him on that afterwards as well. He gave us some great insights about Nebraska, about Coach Matt Rule, and about the things they're doing at Nebraska as well. Dylan Raiola. I mean, just some really good insights there. So if you like football and you like college football, I encourage you to check out the Sports Stove Football Show. We're live every Thursday night on the Sports Stove Facebook page, and then it's always available on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel and the Sports Stove Football Show podcast. We've interviewed 3 straight weeks now. We've had interviews with college football players, and they've just been a blast to do. So I hope you'll go tune into that too.
Yeah.
This is a baseball show, but I know that we've got football fans that listen as well.
Absolutely. And let me just say, because I've been to Lincoln, Nebraska more than once in my life, and I have to support what he just said. Not a lot to do in Lincoln, Nebraska.
I loved it. It was a great answer. Great answer. All right. He's Kevin Wilson. You can follow him at Kevin62 WILSEA on Twitter. I'm Vince Stover. You can find me at Sports Stove on Twitter as well as Instagram. There also. We'll be back next week with more fantasy baseball. Ooh, got to get my shows straight. Fantasy baseball content for you. The plan is Sunday evening to have that out for you. We sure appreciate you tuning in.
That's right.
This is one of our largest live audiences we've had tonight. So we really do appreciate you tuning in tonight as well to the Belly Up Fantasy Baseball show right here on the Belly Up Sports Network. We appreciate you. Hope that you had a great Father's Day and you have a great week ahead. Keep swinging. All right. We'll see you next week.